The Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, would you please call the roll?
Senators Bridges, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Danielson, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Foote, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hill,
Excused.
Heisey, Holbert, Lee, Lundeen, Marble, Moreno, Pedersen, Priola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate,
Absent.
Todd, Todd, Williams, Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger. Mr. President,
Here. And Mr. Carpenter, would you please note that Senator Tate is excused? With 33 present, 0 absent, and 2 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Janal, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the Journal. Senator Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of Friday, March 1st, 2019 be dispensed with and the Journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Senate Services.
correctly printed. Senate Bill 170, correctly introduced, 173, 174, 175, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, 181, correctly revised. House Bill 1047, 1084, 1175, correctly revised. House Bill 1042 and 1063, correctly enrolled. Senate Bill 43.
Change in sponsorship. The following change in sponsorship will occur. President Garcia will be added as a joint prime sponsor with Senator Danielson and Representative Bunteo on House Bill 19-1047. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Danielson.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege from the Senator Danielson. Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues, for going a little bit out of order today. We are joined by an extraordinary group of individuals over here. The Colorado County Clerks Association is in the Senate on the floor. I think you are aware of how valuable our county clerks are all across the state. I've had the privilege of working quite closely with them in the capacity of working on voting rights issues for the last, I don't know, going on a decade now. But as you all know, they do so much more for each and every one of our constituents at the county level. They're an invaluable resource. We are privileged to work alongside them in the legislature when they engage. I look to them for advice on a number of different issues, and I welcome them to the floor this morning. I'm going to call your names to recognize you individually so each of my colleagues knows which counties are actually here on the floor, and it'd be great when there's time for you to come and visit with them. And so I'd like to introduce, I'll say your names, please hold your applause and we can recognize them at the end, but stand when your name is called. In from Bent County, Clerk Linda Moss. Boulder County Clerk Molly Fitzpatrick. Crowley County Clerk Melinda Carter. Fremont County Clerk Justin Grantham. Gilpin County Clerk Sahari McCormick. Jefferson County Clerk George Stern. Moffat County Clerk Tammy Rashke. San Miguel Clerk Stephanie Van Dam. Washington Clerk Annie Kuntz. Chaffee County Clerk Lori Mitchell. Kit Carson County Clerk Susan Corliss. Lincoln County Clerk Corinne Lengel. Park County Clerk Deb Green. And in from Weld County is Clerk Coppice. Please stand and be recognized, county clerks. We thank you for your service and look forward to working with you. Take care.
Third reading of bills, consent. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the titles to the bills on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1047 by Representative Bunteo and Senators Danielson and Garcia concerning the authority of a metropolitan district to levy a sales tax for the purpose of providing fire protection in the areas of the district in which the tax is levied. House Bill 1175 by Representative Gray and Senator Gonzalez concerning the property tax valuation appeal process. House Bill 1084 by Representative Gray and Senator Zinzinger concerning a requirement that notice of determination on whether a particular land area is blighted be given to owners of prior property within the area.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1047, House Bill 1175, and House Bill 1084.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all the bills on the third reading consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Sonnenberg will be recorded accordingly. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wish to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Marble will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please record me as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Lundin will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Woodward will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Smallwood will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Scott will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully request that I be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Gardner will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Heisey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request to be recorded as a no vote on 1047.
Senator Heisey will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to be recorded a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Senator Cook will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. A request to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1047.
Minority Leader will be recorded as a no vote on 1047. Senator Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill. What's the second one? 1175, please.
Senator Woodward will be recorded as a no vote on 1175. With a vote of 23 ayes, 10 no votes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1047 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Moreno, Majority Leader Lee, Court, Crowder, Gonzalez. With a vote of 32 ayes, 1 no vote, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1175 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1084 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Moreno. The Majority Leader. Williams. Bridges. Court. Pedersen. Please add the President. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Zenzinger will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1105?
House Bill 1105 by Representatives Mulligan and Sanders, Senators Marble and Winter, concerning the ability of advanced practice nurses with prescriptive authority to obtain Level 1 accreditation under the Workers' Compensation Act of Colorado.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1105 lay over until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th, 2019.
The motion before the body is to lay over House Bill 1105. Are all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The bill will be laid over. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1152?
House Bill 1152 by Representatives Harrigan, Galindo, and Senator Gonzalez concerning eliminating the requirement that a student member of the State Student Advisory Council for Community Colleges and Occupational Education must be an in-state student for tuition purposes prior to election of the State Student Advisory Council for Community Colleges and Occupational Education.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1152 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a thorough discussion about this bill in the in the Senate Education Committee, and there a question arose around the ability of community college students to be able to qualify to participate in the State Student Advisory Council. And some questions came up around how our in-state tuition process works. And so I just wanted to clarify that for our colleagues. The statutory residency requirement mandates that a student must qualify for in-state tuition in order to be eligible to participate currently in our current statute. Now, to qualify for in-state, for tuition purposes, as a community college student, you must have graduated from a Colorado high school with a 3-year attendance record and enrolled at an institution within 1 year of graduation, or you must have legal domicile in the state for at least a year with 2 forms of evidence. And so what this bill would do is allow students who are either out-of-state students to also participate in the State Student Advisory Council. There are 137,000 community college students, and about 10% of our community college students are out-of-state. What was really exciting was the ability to hear from Community College Student Advisory Council members themselves as they were talking about wanting to be able to represent all of the students within their Student Advisory Council. And so this is a bill that students themselves have requested, and for that reason I am honored to carry this bill, and I do ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1152. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the bill, the title to Senate Bill 78?
Senate Bill 78 by Senators Donovan and Bridges and Representatives Hanson and Harrod. Concerning the protection of the open internet connection therewith disqualifying internet service provider from receiving high-cost support mechanism money or other money received, finance broadband employment of the internet service provider engages in certain practices that interfere with the open internet, requiring internet service provider that engages in such practices to refund any such money received, and requiring governmental body contracting for broadband internet access service to give preference to an internet service provider that certifies that it will not engage in practices that interfere with the open internet.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 78 lay over until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th, 2019.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 78 to tomorrow, March 5th. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. And the bill will lay over until tomorrow, March 5th. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 77?
Senate Bill 77 by Senators Pirola and Williams and Representative Hanson concerning measures that affect the development of infrastructure used by electric motor vehicles and in connection therewith, establishing a process at the Colorado Public Utilities Commission whereby a public utility may undertake implementation of an electric motor vehicle infrastructure program within the area covered by the utility certificate of public convenience and necessity.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 77 lay over until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th, 2019.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 77 until tomorrow, March 5th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill will lay over until tomorrow, March 5th. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, committee will place the reports out in consideration of the following text bills being considered. Even though it makes following recommendations around House Bill 1152 passed, second reader order revised place counter for the ring of final passage. House Bill 1105, Senate Bill 78, Senate Bill 77 were laid over until 3519, retaining their place in the calendar.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is for the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1152 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1105, Senate Bill 078, Senate Bill 77 laid over until 3/5/2019, retaining their place on the calendar. Announcements. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have an announcement, but would request a moment of personal privilege, sir.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you noticed this morning the excused absence of our colleague Owen Hill. He is a dear friend of a man who lost his life this weekend, Kyle Forty. Kyle Forty is an explorer. He's a man who has explored the bounds of faith, he's explored the bounds of family, and he's explored the bounds of freedom. I first met Kyle and interacted with him as a political consultant. He engaged with me in a campaign that I was waging to figure out how to expand the bounds of freedom. Kyle was in Kenya, and this last weekend perished in a helicopter crash as he was exploring that beautiful part of the world that I have never seen. Today I would ask you to extend your thoughts, if you're a person of faith, your prayers, and your consideration to Kyle's lovely wife, Hope, and his son, Max. Hope and Kyle came up and testified earlier this year as foster parents on a bill that had to do with the students and children that they had fostered in their lives. And it is Hope, who Kyle leaves behind, and Max, that I would ask you to turn your attention and your prayers to this morning. Mr. President, I ask for a moment of silence in memory of Kyle Forty and what he stood for.
The Senate will observe a moment of silence, and the Senate chimes will be rung.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, today we have some guests here from the African American Initiative of the Colorado Democratic Party. It's an honor to have these ladies and gentlemen here today as they advocate on issues that affect African American community, the underserved community. They're very active, and it's an honor to have them here today. So thank you.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. And excuse me, I had the privilege of being able to meet with these lovely folks this morning, some from Aurora, some from Denver. This is where we cross the lines, the county lines, and welcome all people. And it's wonderful to have them here. They will be here all day. You'll see them. Some people are in the House, some are in the Senate, and they will also be down in 112 over the lunch hour. So stop in, say hello, and welcome. We're delighted. We love to see citizens in actions. Welcome, and glad you're here with us today. Thank you.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to take this opportunity to welcome and recognize the folks that are here from the African American Initiative of Colorado Democrats. Also, we have members from the National Association of Real Estate Brokers who are here with us. Over in the House, we have the NAACP, which is an organization that's been around since 1909, advocating for equality and justice and fairness for a very long time. And then we also have the Ministerial Alliance, which is an organization of Aurora, Denver Metro pastors from around the state. I just want to thank them for their leadership and for their movement, because they lend voices to so many of the issues that are happening around our state and in our communities. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership.
Further announcements. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Mr. President, on opening day, I commended you. I pointed to you as the point where balance exists in this 72nd General Assembly. Mr. President, it's been an honor to serve with you in the House and in the Senate. Mr. President, I need to ask you to be that even hand today. Legislation that was introduced Friday evening and scheduled for committee tomorrow will, of course, drive significant support and opposition from the people of Colorado. We are learning today that people in opposition to that bill are not able to rally here tomorrow. It is my understanding that those in support have permits for the space available for protests, for the people's voice to be heard. I will not make any accusation, but it does seem as though supporters may have known in advance what opponents did not. We are hearing from people in rural Colorado that remote testimony seems to be available for that hearing tomorrow, but Mr. President, this is a question of process, not policy. Mr. President, we in the minority know that we do not have the votes, but the process, the rules, the Constitution, statute gives us voice. And those of us we represent who stand in opposition to that bill deserve to have their voice heard. Mr. President, I am grateful, sir, that if a member of my caucus does not hold that gavel, that, sir, that you do. And as I pointed out on opening day, your respect for the rules and the process is something that I respect and appreciate about you. Mr. President, Mr. Majority Leader, Madam Chair of the Senate Transportation and Energy Committee, I ask you with utmost respect, please reschedule Senate Bill 181 and allow the people of Colorado to have their voice heard. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to let folks know that tomorrow morning, Tuesday, March the 5th, the Women's Foundation of Colorado will be having their annual lobby day at the Capitol, and they will be providing breakfast at 7:30 a.m. over across the street at the First Baptist Church, 1373 Grant Street. Participants will be coming from all over the state of Colorado and will have the opportunity to observe the legislative process, meet elected officials, and engage with advocacy experts. I do want to invite my colleagues to join us for either breakfast or our advocacy expert panel at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning at the First Baptist Church. Thank you.
Senator General.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that it was Acupuncture Day at the Capitol today. And the acupuncturists are around, and they'll probably stop by and visit you, but also that there is a luncheon today that they're hosting, and would like to invite you to that.
Senator Phillips.
That is at?
Senator Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. President. The luncheon is going to be at the Masonic Center at 1370 Grant Street. It's going to start at 11 o'clock. Please join us.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a very brief moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, when we have concerns here, we generally suggest that you go directly to who you have a concern with. That's not what happened here this morning. Instead, we heard things that were just not true at the microphone by a colleague. And I do believe that it was essentially attempting to impugn my character and my motivations. Mr. President, there were some things that I believe were not true said here. I believe members of the Republican caucus knew about this bill. I talked to individual caucus members specifically about this bill and the timeline for this bill. I also talked to members of the industry about this bill. I also talked to advocates about this bill. The timeline was not a mystery. In fact, it was even reported in the newspaper. It shouldn't have been a surprise that we did a press conference when we said the bill will be coming in a day or two, and then the bill came the next day. That's how it works. We announced it. We sent the signals. It was discussed in the media and in the press and among colleagues here in this chamber. To state that the bill was introduced in a way that was meant to not allow opponents to have their voice heard is just not true. The opponents of this bill, immediately after it was introduced, I believe, from what I've been told, reserved the west steps of the Capitol, where opposition rallies traditionally occur. They reserved it for 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a long rally. Sort of makes me feel like they're trying to reserve the steps for themselves and not allow others have access to it. So to state that something was reserved for the supporters of this bill so that the opposition could not have their voice heard and couldn't participate in the democratic process is false. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move that the Senate recess until 2 p.m. today.
The Senate will stand in a recess. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the Senate will stand in a recess until 1400 today.